Sleep advice is everywhere. You've probably heard that you can catch up on sleep over the weekend, that a nightcap helps you sleep, or that older people just don't need as much rest. The truth is, a lot of common sense sleep advice is quietly wrecking your energy, mood, and long-term health. In this video, we're breaking down 10 of the most popular sleep myths so you can stop guessing and start sleeping smarter. Quick note before we dive in, this video is for general education only, not medical advice. It doesn't replace talking to your doctor or a sleep specialist about your specific situation. Always get professional help for ongoing sleep problems or concerns about your health. With that out of the way, let's start with one of the most common myths. Myth 1. You can function fine on 5 hours of sleep. Let's start with one of the most common beliefs. I only sleep 5 hours a night, and I function just fine. Here's the problem. Feeling used to being tired is not the same as being healthy or performing at your best. Most adults still need around 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep for clear thinking, emotional balance, and long-term health. When you constantly push down to 5 hours, your brain slowly adjusts to a new normal. But tests of reaction time, memory, and decision-making often show a different story. In studies, people who are chronically sleep-restricted rate themselves as doing okay, even while their performance slips to levels similar to being mildly drunk. You might not notice the small mistakes, the slower thinking, or the extra irritability in the moment, but your body does. Over time, that chronic short sleep is linked with higher risk of weight gain, blood pressure problems, and burnout. Instead of trying to power through on 5 hours, experiment with adding just 15 to 30 minutes to your nightly sleep window this week. Pay attention to how your focus, mood, and cravings feel with a little more rest. You may be surprised by the difference. Myth 2. You can catch up on sleep on the weekend. Let's talk about weekend catch-up sleep. All week you stay up late, wake up early, and tell yourself you'll fix everything by sleeping in on Saturday and Sunday. It feels logical. Sleep less now, sleep more later, and it all balances out. The problem is that your body doesn't work like a bank account, where you can just make one big deposit after a week of withdrawals. Chronic short sleep builds up a kind of sleep debt that affects your focus, mood, and metabolism in ways that a couple of long mornings in bed can't completely erase. On top of that, sleeping much later on weekends can confuse your internal clock, a bit like flying across time zones every single week. That social jet lag is one reason Mondays feel so brutal, and why you might struggle to fall asleep on Sunday night. A more helpful approach is to keep your wake-up time within about an hour of your usual time, even on weekends, and slowly nudge your schedule earlier if you're chronically short on sleep. Your body does best with consistency, not wild swings from one extreme to the other. Myth 3. More sleep is always better. Since we hear constantly that sleep is good, it's easy to think, well, more must always be better. Sleeping in for 10 or 12 hours can feel like a self-care badge of honor, especially after a stressful week. But needing a lot of extra sleep on a regular basis isn't automatically a sign of great health. For many people, routinely sleeping 9 or more hours and still waking up exhausted is your body raising a quiet red flag. It can be a clue that your sleep quality is poor, that your schedule is off, or that there's something else going on with your mood or physical health. What matters most is how you feel and function during the day, not just the number on the clock. If you're technically getting plenty of hours but still dragging yourself through the morning, snapping at people, or relying on caffeine to feel human, that's worth paying attention to. Instead of just adding more and more hours in bed, try tracking your sleep and energy for a couple of weeks. If you notice a pattern of long nights plus low energy, that's a good reason to talk with a health professional and see what might be behind it. Myth 4. Loud snoring is just annoying, not serious. Snoring is so common that it's become a running joke in a lot of households. People tease each other about it, record funny videos, and treat it as nothing more than an annoying sound that keeps partners awake. But when snoring is loud, frequent, and paired with gasping, choking, or pauses in breathing, it can be a sign of something more serious called sleep apnea. In sleep apnea, your airway repeatedly narrows or collapses during the night, so your body briefly wakes up just enough to reopen it, often without you remembering it. Those tiny awakenings can fragment your sleep, lower oxygen levels, and leave you feeling unrefreshed, even if you spent 8 hours in bed. Over time, untreated sleep apnea is linked with daytime sleepiness, higher accident risk, and more strain on your heart and blood pressure. If you or your partner notice loud snoring plus gasping or pauses in breathing, don't just laugh it off. Bringing it up with a doctor or sleep specialist is a simple step that can make your nights safer and your days more energetic. Myth 5. Alcohol helps you sleep. A nightcap is a really common bedtime habit. A drink or two can make your muscles feel heavy, your thoughts slow down, and your eyelids droop, so it's easy to believe alcohol is helping you sleep better. What it actually does is sedate you and change the architecture of your sleep. You may fall asleep faster, but alcohol tends to reduce deep, restorative sleep and cut into REM, the stage that supports memory, mood, and emotional processing. It also makes your sleep more fragmented later in the night. That's why, after a few drinks, you might find yourself waking up at 3 in the morning, tossing and turning, or feeling strangely wired and sweaty. Even if you sleep for 7 or 8 hours on paper, you can wake up groggy, foggy, and less refreshed than usual. If you drink, one simple experiment is to stop a few hours before bedtime and see what changes. Try leaving at least 3 to 4 hours between your last drink and when you plan to sleep, and notice whether your awakenings decrease and your mornings feel smoother. Myth 6. If you can't sleep, just stay in bed. When you're lying awake at night, it feels logical to stay in bed and wait it out. Getting up can feel like you've failed the night, so you keep checking the time and hoping sleep will eventually show up. The problem is that your brain is always learning. If you spend night after night awake in bed, scrolling, worrying, or feeling frustrated, your brain starts to associate your bed with being alert and stressed instead of sleepy and relaxed. Over time, just climbing into bed can trigger racing thoughts, even on nights when you were tired a moment ago. Sleep specialists often suggest a different rule. If you've been awake for roughly 20 minutes and you're getting more wound up, gently get out of bed. Do something calm and boring in low light, like reading a not-too-exciting book or listening to soft audio, and only return to bed when you feel sleepy again. It can feel counterintuitive, but this helps restore the link between bed and sleep in your brain, so that over time your body learns, when I'm here, I rest. Myth 7. Older people need less sleep. Many older adults notice their sleep changing, waking up earlier, waking more during the night, or dozing in the afternoon. That can lead to a common belief: when you're older, you just don't need as much sleep. In reality, sleep needs don't suddenly drop just because you hit a certain birthday. Most older adults still do best with around 7 to 8 hours of sleep across a 24-hour period. What often changes is how that sleep is distributed: lighter sleep, more awakenings, or more daytime napping. The risk is that constant tiredness gets brushed off as just aging, instead of a sign that something might be off. Issues like untreated pain, breathing problems at night, medication side effects, or mood changes can all chip away at sleep quality and energy. If you're older and frequently sleepy during the day, or you find yourself dozing off without meaning to, it's worth mentioning it to your doctor. You don't have to accept feeling exhausted as an inevitable part of getting older. Myth 8. Hitting snooze gives you extra quality rest. Hitting snooze feels comforting. Those extra 5 or 10 minutes seem like a gentle ramp from sleep into your day, instead of one harsh alarm dragging you out of bed. But the sleep you get between snooze alarms is usually shallow and fragmented. Each time the alarm goes off, your brain is jerked toward wakefulness, then dropped back into light sleep, without enough time to complete a full, restorative cycle. That stop-start pattern can actually make you feel more groggy, not less. You stand up feeling heavy-headed, needing more time, and often more caffeine, to fully wake up, even though you technically slept a bit longer. A better strategy is to set one realistic alarm for when you actually need to get up. Put it across the room so you have to stand and get light on your face within a few minutes. That combination helps your body switch into day mode much faster than 6 rounds of snooze. Myth 9. Evening exercise always ruins sleep. You might have heard the advice: never exercise at night or you'll be up all night. That can lead people with busy schedules to skip movement entirely if they can't work out in the morning. Intense workouts right before bed can keep some people wired for a while, especially if heart rate and body temperature stay high. But light to moderate activity earlier in the evening, like walking, gentle cycling, or stretching a few hours before bed, can actually improve sleep quality for many people. The real issue is timing and intensity, not the simple fact that it's after 5 p.m. If evenings are the only time you can move, cutting out all activity can mean more sitting, more stress, and fewer of the sleep-boosting benefits regular movement provides. Experiment with shifting your harder workouts a bit earlier when you can, and leaning into lighter movement 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. Pay attention to how your body responds. That feedback is more useful than a blanket never exercise at night rule. Myth 10. Everyone needs exactly 8 hours. 8 hours of sleep gets repeated so often that it starts to feel like a hard rule. Anything less can make you feel like you're failing, and anything more can make you worry something is wrong. In reality, 8 hours is an average, not a magic number. Many adults feel and function best somewhere in a range, often between about 7 and 9 hours, and your personal sweet spot can shift slightly with age, stress, and health. Focusing too rigidly on the number can actually create more stress about sleep. You might lie in bed doing mental math, thinking, if I fall asleep right now, I'll get exactly 8 hours, which ironically makes it harder to relax. Instead of chasing a perfect number, pay attention to how you feel during the day. Aim for the amount of sleep that leaves you generally alert, emotionally steady, and able to function most days of the week, even if your tracker shows 7.3 one night and 8.1 the next. Recap plus CTA. A lot of sleep advice gets repeated so often that it starts to sound true, even when the science says otherwise. Myths about 5-hour nights, weekend catch-up sleep, snoring, alcohol, snoozing, and more can quietly chip away at your health while you're busy trying to cope. By understanding what's actually going on, you can make small, realistic changes that help your nights feel calmer and your days feel clearer. If you learned something new about sleep today, tap like so I know to make more of these type of videos. And if you want to keep going, check out the next video where we dig into more everyday health myths and what to do instead.